Right, let's get started with our story number one. Congress held pan-India protest today against price rise and unemployment. Protests were seen in Mumbai, Chennai, Guwahati and Jammu, among other places. Police used water cannons on Congress workers in Chandigarh. But a massive face-off was seen on the streets of the national capital, where Congress leaders were detained. We're talking about Rahul Gandhi, Priyanka Gandhi and other top leaders. They were stopped in their protest march against inflation and were detained. Dramatic scenes unfolded in Delhi as Priyanka Gandhi was seen being dragged, roughed up and detained by police. Congress leader Dipendra Hooda was also seen dragged by the police. All these leaders were released later. Meanwhile, Home Minister Amit Shah called these protests as appeasement politics by the Congress.
हम तो एक मकसद से है ना यहाँ हमारा मकसद ये है कि हम इनके मंत्री कह रहे हैं इनको महंगाई नहीं दिखती तो हम पीएम हाउस तक चल के महंगाई दिखाना चाहते हैं गैस का सिलेंडर दिखाना चाहते हैं जो आज कोई खरीद नहीं सकता है इतनी महंगाई है चाहे गरीब हो चाहे मिडिल क्लास के हो सब तरस रहे हैं सब तड़प रहे हैं
लोकतंत्र की हत्या हो रही है Our job is to resist these forces. Our job is to make sure that Indian democracy is protected. Our job is to raise issues of the people like unemployment and prices, and we are doing that.
कांग्रेस ने इसमें हिडन तरीके से अपनी अपीसमेंट की पॉलिसी को आगे बढ़ाया है। आज ईडी ने किसी भी प्रकार का ना किसी को तलब किया है, ना पूछताछ की है, ना कोई रेड हुई है, कुछ नहीं हुआ है। और अचानक ही कांग्रेस ने आज ये कार्यक्रम दिया विरोध का। मैं तो समझ ही नहीं सकता विरोध का कार्यक्रम क्यों आज दिया गया है। आज सभी के सभी लोग काले कपड़े पहनकर करें। मैं मानता हूं कि आज ही के दिन इस देश के प्रधानमंत्री श्री नरेंद्र मोदी जी ने राम जन्मभूमि का शिलान्यास किया था।
All right, for more on this, I'm joined by Nukul on the broadcast. And Nukul, on the one hand, when the Congress launched its protests in black outfits, there were nationwide protests. We saw those dramatic visuals of Priyanka Gandhi Vadra being dragged by the police. But Mr. Amit Shah said that there is a bad intent behind wearing those black colors. For the benefit of our viewers, could you give us a lowdown of this Black Friday politics?
Well, absolutely. At the same time, what we saw in the parliament, Mallikarjun Kharge, leader of opposition, was called for the summon where the parliament was going on. In the evening yesterday, Congress party, they came out of the parliament. They held a press conference at the Vijay Chowk, and there are some of the MPs who were stating that, particularly Nasir Hussain, the member of parliament, he had stated yesterday that Congress is going to protest all across the country. Although this came out after ED had called leader of opposition Mallikarjun Kharge yesterday. But today what we saw, that 65 member of parliaments were detained at the Kingsway Club. They were released at 7 p.m. in the evening, while we saw that as you rightly mentioned, that Congress MPs and leaders were wearing black clothes. Now Congress chief Sonia Gandhi led Congress in the parliament, where the Congress leaders, they all were wearing the black clothes. They started their protest from there. They wanted to go towards Rashtrapati Bhavan. Then some of the Congress leaders, they also wanted to go do a gherao outside the PM house residence. Now we saw a dramatic visual when these protests were transpired at the AICC and at the Vijay Chowk, where some of the leaders were detained, particularly if we talk about Priyanka Gandhi, who was as Congress alleged, and we could see in the dramatic visuals as well how she was dragged out and dragged inside to be detained by the Delhi police. Now Delhi police had come out in a statement and specifically mentioned that they were warned not to protest against. They were warned not to protest, and administration had given a prior notice to Congress party, and Section 144 has been implemented there. So all the barricades were put. They were not allowed to protest, but Congress was protesting at the behest of price rise and inflation. While BJP had come out and said hit back. In the morning we saw Ravi Shankar Prasad, Union Minister, he had also stated that Congress is trying to curtain down what is going on in the investigation on the ED, as per we talk about. And also Home Minister Amit Shah had also mentioned that today is the Shilanyas of the Ram Janmabhoomi. So all these developments have taken place today, and these are the counter arguments have been given by both the parties.
All right, thank you, Nukul, for these updates. All right, shifting focus to a story that impacts all of us. Amid rising prices, there's no relief from high inflation. The RBI has said that inflation has eased but still expected to remain above the tolerance level of 6%. The central bank hiked repo rate by 50 basis points, taking the repo rate to 5.4%. Simply put, this rate hike of key lending rates will lead an increase in your EMIs. It will lead to an increase in your EMIs, which means you'll have to pay higher EMIs for your home loans, car loans and personal loans.
Consumer price inflation has eased from its surge in April, but remains uncomfortably high and above the upper threshold of the target, that is 6%. Inflationary pressures are broad-based and core inflation remains at elevated levels.
All right, for more on this and to explain this development better, I'm joined by my colleague Avni Raja on the broadcast. Avni, thank you for joining us. It seems like a big setback to the common man who's already reeling under the massive inflation. Now their EMIs are also going to go up as far as their home loans, personal loans are concerned.
In fact, that is what is going to happen going forward. This rate hike by the RBI was on expected lines, and it is going to result in higher EMIs. Ironically, rates are being increased by the Reserve Bank of India to curb inflation, which is a big battle that RBI has been fighting. As you know, over the last several months, we've been seeing skyrocketing inflation, and this is one way to sort of curb inflation at this point in time. But this is also not going to rule out further rate hikes from RBI's tone today. It was very evident that there could be more rate hikes going forward as well. Now, what it means for the common man is, of course, higher EMIs, but at the same time, fixed deposit rates will also increase. So you'll get slightly more interest rate on your fixed deposits as well. On the inflation front, it was a very, certain concerning statements coming in from the RBI governor there with respect to inflation, very clearly saying that it is still not a battle that's been won. Next few quarters, we are still going to see high inflation above 6%. 6% is important because it's that ceiling of the RBI's comfort zone. So far it has been well above that, and that is expected to continue. And RBI governor also pointing out that if sustained high inflation continues, it is going to have a destabilizing impact on the economy. And remember, we are also in the midst of a lot of volatility, even from the geopolitical aspect as well, with a lot of anything literally could happen. And those are also aspects that weigh in on India's inflationary circumstances. But all in all, he did say that India is well poised to handle any shocks that come its way.
All right, thank you, Avni, for those updates. Moving on, the Enforcement Directorate has frozen 64.67 crore rupees worth bank deposits of one of India's prominent cryptocurrency exchanges, Wazir X. The funds have been frozen as part of an ongoing money laundering probe against some fraud smartphone-based loan dishing apps backed by Chinese funds. The ED said that the exchange and its executives were giving contradictory and ambiguous answers to evade oversight by Indian regulatory agencies. All right, shifting focus to story number 3. Rain continues to wreak havoc in Kerala and Tamil Nadu. At least 19 people have been reported dead so far in rain-related incidents. A red alert has been issued in about 8 districts. Water levels in rivers and reservoirs have risen to dangerous levels at a number of places in Kerala, that is crisscrossed by 44 rivers. This has forced authorities to open shutters of dams to manage water level in reservoirs. Rescue teams have shifted over 6,000 people to 221 relief camps. Over 250 houses are damaged in the rain-caused flood fury. All right, so this is the latest that we are getting for you as far as the situation in Kerala is concerned. Water level is rising in reservoirs. An alert has been sounded in 8 districts. This is the latest. Remember, CUET exams have also been cancelled in the state in the wake of these heavy rains. Now, Tamil Nadu, especially the areas around the Western Ghats, has been receiving heavy rainfall for the past few days due to the onset of southwest monsoon. Due to heavy rains, flooding has occurred in many districts. Houses were flooded in several areas, causing officials to evacuate over 500 residents to safer zones. Incessant rains also triggered water levels in dams. Kaveri Basin is inching closer to danger levels. Meanwhile, an alert has been issued in places close to river bodies and fishing has been banned. Schools have been declared shut in rain-affected areas. All right, for more on this, I'm joined by my colleague Dharani on the broadcast. Dharani, what is the latest as far as the rain situation in the state of Tamil Nadu is concerned?
Well, in the state of Tamil Nadu, districts adjoining the Western Ghats, they have been receiving heavy to very heavy rainfall in the past few days. And, these districts include Erode, Tirupur, Coimbatore, Nilgiris, Dharmapuri, Kallakurichi, Namakkal, etc. So these are the western districts in Tamil Nadu, and these districts, they've been experiencing heavy to very heavy rainfall in the past, few days. So when we talk about tomorrow, the forecast is that Coimbatore and Nilgiris districts, these 2 districts might get heavy to very heavy rainfall along with thunderstorms and lightning. So that's what the meteorological department has, predicted. So they've asked people in these districts to be, to be precautionary with everything they need in their hands. So, and moreover, yesterday, Tamil Nadu Chief Minister M.K. Stalin, he held a meeting with the district collectors of all these districts, and he, took stock of the situation, and he instructed them to not let water out of any dam without prior information. And he also told that water should not be let out of any dams during night times. So these are some, strict instructions that have been given to the district collectors of the western Tamil Nadu. So they will not be letting the water out of any dams, without giving prior information to the people, and during night times. That's what we're hearing from the officials. And on the other hand, relief camps have also been made ready by the Tamil Nadu government. Over 500 relief camps have been, created in several parts of the western Tamil Nadu for people to stay. So, in fact, the government is evacuating people who are, who are residing in low-lying areas who are flood-prone. So they are being moved to the relief camps, and NDRF and NDRF forces are also in play. In fact, they're also, the government their measures.
All right, thank you, Dharani, for the latest from Tamil Nadu. So this is the latest that we are getting for you. The situation is not getting any better in the states of Kerala and Tamil Nadu, both that have been battered by heavy rains. As my colleague Dharani was telling us, that areas, the authorities have stepped up. They have stepped up into action, and several measures have been taken in order to move people to relief camps. Now, moving on, the row over the cutting of trees in Mumbai's RA colony for the construction of metro car shed has reached the Supreme Court. In the hearing today, the Mumbai Metro Rail Corporation informed Supreme Court that no cutting of trees had been carried out in RA forest region after top court's status quo order in October 2019. It said that the authorities have only removed the bushes and shrubs which had grown in the area. The metro body further assured the top court that no trees will be cut till the next date of hearing on August 10th.
न्यायालयावर आमचा विश्वास आहे. आपण बघत असाल की आरेची जी जागा आहे आजूबाजूला 808 एकर मध्ये आपण जंगल घोषित केलेलं, वन घोषित केलेलं आहे. आरेचे पण जो मूलभूत प्रश्न आहे तो नुसतं झाडांचा नाहीये, तिथे 5 की 6 बिबटे राहतात. तसा आपला एक रिपोर्ट पण आलेला आहे. तो रिपोर्ट देखील आपण बघितलं असेल, पब्लिक डोमेन मध्ये आहे. कांजूरमार्गला जेव्हा आपण हलवत होतो, लाईन 3, लाईन 6, 4 आणि 14 ह्याची कामं कुठेही न थांबवता एकच ठिकाणी कांजूरमार्गमध्ये आपण हे 4ही डेपोज आणत होतो आणि मेट्रो भवन देखील आणत होतो. साधारणपणे लँड ॲक्विजिशनची जी कॉस्ट असते 2 ते 2.5 कोटी 4ही ठिकाणी येणार होती. 8,000 ते 9,000 कोटी आपण वाचवले असते. अजूनही माझं हेच मत आहे की ह्या 4ही लाईनचं एकाच ठिकाणी जर झालं तर लँड ॲक्विजिशनची कॉस्ट कमी होईल, वाचू शकू तेवढे पैसे जनतेचे आपण, आणि एफिशियन्सी पण वाढेल.
All right, moving on. Chennai Corporation warns that those who use banned plastic in beaches across the city will face action. The corporation says their team will inspect all beaches twice a day, and anyone who's found to have been using banned plastic will be fined. All right, for more of this, I'm joined by Dharani on the broadcast. Dharani, what more can you tell us about Chennai Corporation's warning?
Well, there are three main beaches in Chennai city. One is Marina Beach, and then there's Bajrang Beach and Thiruvanmiyur Beach. So today, Chennai Corporation put out a press release telling that if anyone is found to have using banned single-use plastic in these beaches, they'll be fined then and there. So this is what the announcement that we are looking at from the Chennai Corporation. So they even this is a warning. As you told, Chennai Corporation, they'll be visiting these three beaches twice a day. That's once in the evening, and they'll be doing rounds. So during their rounds, if they are coming across any public shop owners who are using single-use plastic, they'll be finding them. That if any particular individual or shop is violating this rule again and again, multiple times, or 3 times, the fine amount will also increase. So this is what the Chennai Corporation has put out. For the past 2.5 years, Chennai Corporation has been taking various steps to reduce plastic use in the city. So now they're concentrating on beaches. They want the beaches to be clean on one side, and they also want the public to, to be away from plastic on the other side. So to make both of these things happen, they've come out with this rule. So this rule will come into force from tomorrow. So from tomorrow, if anybody is found to be using single-use plastic in any of these three beaches, that is the Marina Beach, Besinagar Beach, and Thiruvanmiyur Beach, they'll be fined in this spot.
Right. Thank you, Dharani, for these updates. All right, shifting focus to our story number 4. Elections for the position of Vice President 2022 will take place tomorrow, and the results of which are likely to be announced the same day. The BJP-led NDA has announced Jagdeep Dhankar as its vice presidential candidate, whereas the opposition has named Margaret Alva as their candidate. While the Aam Aadmi Party, Jharkhand Mukti Morcha and RJD have decided to support the opposition candidate, Margaret Alva, YSRCP BSP will back NDA's pick Jagdeep Dhankar. However, Mamata Banerjee's TMC will abstain from voting in the vice presidential election as they accuse the opposition of not consulting them before coming up with Margaret Alva's name. All right, so this is the latest that we are getting for you as far as the vice presidential elections are concerned. This is the second highest constitutional post of the country. NDA's Jagdeep Dhankar is going to contest the opposition's Margaret Alva. In all likelihood, the results will be declared tomorrow. We're talking about the vice presidential elections that are taking place, and Aam Aadmi Party, JMM and RJD have decided to support the opposition candidate Margaret Alva, whereas the YSRCP BSP will back NDA's pick Jagdeep Dhankar. All right, we'll try to get a reporter on this story, but the latest that we are getting for you is that tomorrow is the vice presidential election. And as I have already mentioned that BJP-led NDA has backed Jagdeep Dhankar, whereas the opposition's pick is Margaret Alva. All right, moving on. Now that we've spoken about TMC Supremo, let's talk about her visit to the national capital amid a shadow of cash for job scam. And ahead of the vice presidential elections, Bengal Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee met Prime Minister Narendra Modi at his official residence, and West Bengal Chief Minister pressed for immediate release of pending dues to Bengal under several central schemes which her government has been demanding for long. She requested urgent release of funds due to state for implementation of schemes including Manrega, PM Awas Yojana and PM Gramin Sadak Yojana. Later in the evening, she also met President Draupadi Murmu. Let me tell you, she wasn't the only one to meet President today. Delhi Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal also met President Murmu in Delhi. All right, story number 5. The Enforcement Directorate has got 14-day judicial custody for ex-West Bengal Minister Partha Chatterjee and his aide Arpita Mukherjee. This is in connection with the alleged teachers' recruitment scam in Bengal. Both will be produced today. Both will be produced before court next on August 18th. Partha Chatterjee's bail plea was rejected. ED said that they feared for Arpita's security. Additional security has been instructed for in the jail. Now, ED has also been allowed to interrogate them in the jail. Remember, Enforcement Directorate is focusing on figuring out the money trail linked to the scam. Nearly 50 crore of cash has been recovered from Arpita Mukherjee's flats in Kolkata. All right, finally, we have a voice on this story. Adrija joins us for more. Adrija, what is the latest that you can share with us as far as ED getting 14-day custody of Mr. Chatterjee and Arpita Mukherjee?
Well, today in the court, after the court proceedings, Partha Chatterjee and Arpita Mukherjee both have been sent to 14-day judicial custody, and both have been sent to separate prisons. And then a report of because Arpita Mukherjee's security is threatened, as the ED has said, and also her lawyers have asked for special security and other security petitions which the lawyers have filed have been accepted by the court. However, the ED did request initially to make sure that the food and water that is provided to Arpita Mukherjee is also tested. That has been denied by the court, and also Partha Chatterjee has been sent to a separate jail. Both of them will be continuously interrogated. ED officers have the go of the court that every day 2 officers can enter the jail. The jail super will be instructed accordingly, and every day the 2 officers can go inside the jail and interrogate both Arpita Mukherjee and Partha Chatterjee. So the interrogation will continue. As of now, they will again be produced in court on 18th, and further decisions will be taken back. Back to you.
All right. Thank you, Adrija, for these updates. Maharashtra Chief Minister Eknath Shinde's loyalist to their Samant's big statement. He says that Maharashtra cabinet expansion will take place before 15th of August, and all guardian ministers will hoist a flag on 15th August. All right, so this is the latest that we are getting for you on Maharashtra cabinet expansion, where in all likelihood there will be a cabinet expansion by 15th of August, before 15th of August. This is what Mr. Uday Samant has claimed. We have a voice on this story. Abhishek joins us for more on this. Abhishek, it is expected that the cabinet expansion is going to happen before 15th of August. What is the latest that you can share with us?
See, again, I can only tell you that, these are the statements one after the other being made from past 1 month, from all the senior leaders, maybe it from the Shinde camp, or you can say from the BJP. Sudhir Mungantiwar said that
All right, my apologies for that. We'll try and fix our technical connections with our correspondents, but that was the latest. We were trying to tell you about Maharashtra politics, and in all likelihood, there will be a cabinet expansion before 15th of August. Now, Sanjay Raut has penned a letter of gratitude to all opposition party leaders who've shown solidarity with him against the alleged political witch hunt through Enforcement Directorate. All right, shifting focus to story number 6. After announcing unspecified sanctions on US Speaker Nancy Pelosi and stating that she had disregarded China's serious concerns and resolute opposition to her visit, China decided to suspend all cooperation with the United States in the areas, including dialogue between senior-level military commanders and climate talks. All this in retaliation to Nancy Pelosi's Taiwan visit. The Foreign Ministry said that it was also suspending cooperation with Washington on prevention of cross-border crime, drug trafficking and repatriating illegal migrants. On the other hand, on day 2 of China's 5-day targeting operation around Taiwan. Taiwan claims that 68 Chinese planes and 13 warships crossed in median line today, which separates Taiwan and China. Fuming China has also summoned European diplomats over their statement on Taiwan.
It's widely expected that after Nancy Pelosi left Taiwan, the Chinese would take action. And that is exactly what they have done, diplomatically, militarily, and economically. Diplomatically, they have made it very clear that from now on, they do not want to deal with America. Nancy Pelosi, of course, is persona non grata. She is not going to be involved with China at all, is what the Chinese believe. Importantly, the Chinese have also called off talks with the Americans on climate change and other issues. Besides that, you are obviously aware of the military action that has been taken. There are Chinese missiles falling just short of Taiwan and Japan, in the Sea of Japan and in the straits separating Taiwan and, of course, China. There are also 100 warplanes close to Taiwan, and there are about 10 warships. Besides that, there are huge economic repercussions that Taiwan will have to face for, of course, hosting Nancy Pelosi. But at this point, it is very clear that China wants to continue to do this because China blames Taiwan for this and China blames America for this.
All right, moving on, JNKLG Manoj Sinha inaugurated the renovated Bakshi Stadium on the 3rd anniversary of abrogation of Article 370. The stadium, which had been damaged in the floods of 2014, had been undergoing restoration since 2016 and is capable of hosting international football and rugby tournaments. My colleague Ishan Vani gets us this report.
Today, on the 5th of August, government has chosen to inaugurate historic Bakshi Stadium, which was under renovation for several years. And today, the scenes here are really enthusiastic. Behind me, you can see thousands of youth have gathered here to, be part of this historic reopening of this function. This is a football stadium which government says will be of an international standard, and that is why for several years it was being renovated. All its boundaries were demolished, and today, when it's the day when abrogation of Article 370 took place in 2019, and the government is again inaugurating it with the message that the youth of Kashmir need to be involved in the sports activities, that the youth of Kashmir need to be part of the mainstream, and that is why, to channelize the energy of youth, they have been brought here. Some parts of the stadium have also been decked up with tricolor. You can see there are tricolors also around every gallery at this particular stadium, and this is to not only mark the day when the abrogation of Article 370 took place, but to send out a message that the youth of Kashmir want to play sports, and the government is ready with the infrastructure that they want to have in Kashmir Valley, because now this will not only host football, but it has also been developed in such a way that rugby tournaments could also be held here.